Now, despite a request by Governor J.B. Pritzker to pause ICE activity for trick-or-treaters, there will be no Halloween moratorium of Operation Midway Blitz. The promise to continue immigration arrests on Halloween comes from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem.
But we know National Guard soldiers will not be involved, as Noem and the Trump administration have so far not been able to convince the Supreme Court that there is an emergency here. Investigative reporter Chuck Goudie on the story, here to help us figure out exactly what comes next. Chuck.
Stephen, Allison, if the U.S. Supreme Court had enough votes to authorize President Trump's emergency motion for National Guard troopers, experts tell us that would have happened. So tonight, we pull back the SCOTUS curtain to see why the president didn't achieve what he wanted, military on Chicago streets, and what's next in the White House fight for National Guard troopers here.
We're absolutely not willing to put on pause any work that we will do to keep communities safe.
Appearing in Gary, Indiana this afternoon, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem pledging no Halloween hiatus for ICE agents in their pursuit of undocumented immigrants. Governor Pritzker had asked Noem to order a holiday truce so trick-or-treaters wouldn't have to dodge tear gas canisters, as occurred recently in Chicago.
The fact that Governor Pritzker is asking for that is shameful, and I think unfortunate that he doesn't recognize how important the work is that we do to make sure we're bringing criminals to justice and getting them off our streets, especially when we're going to send all of our kiddos out.
Halloween will be long gone by the time U.S. Supreme Court justices decide what to do with President Trump's emergency request for a ruling on whether it's legal for him to deploy National Guard troopers to Chicago. Yesterday, the Supreme Court did not find an urgency to rule immediately, and so won't resolve the dispute until November 17th at earliest. If there had been enough votes immediately for the court to rule in President Trump's favor, would that have happened?
It probably would have happened, because this is on the so-called emergency docket of the Supreme Court. It shows at least some members of the court are hesitating in their willingness to recognize the government's authority to enter Chicago with military force.
But if there aren't enough votes now, why would there potentially be enough votes in 2 weeks?
Well, it's going to be incumbent on the Trump administration lawyers to make arguments that I think are going to be difficult to make, that the statutes that they're relying on to deploy these forces allow the deployment as they've configured it.
The Supreme Court has asked for a definition of regular forces to determine whether a president has authority to send those forces into Chicago, where the White House contends criminal aliens contribute to a war zone.
These criminals have been wreaking havoc on Illinoisans and Chicagoans. How many more people have to die, be robbed, be assaulted, be hurt by illegal immigrants?
If the Supreme Court rules against President Trump, it would require 2 Republican-appointed justices to switch from the partisan majority. But with no immediate ruling in the case, some observers believe a Trump loss may be possible. Such a victory for the mayor and governor here might be short-lived, though, because it might trigger the last hope for the White House, an urban military deployment, with President Trump invoking the Insurrection Act that allows the use of all military means just on his say-so. Allison?
Chuck, thank you. And stay with NBC5 for continuing coverage of immigration enforcement in our area. We have live updates for you on NBCChicago.com and on our NBC Chicago app.